Welcome to this week's episode of The Nero Show. In today's episode, 11 years later and Shimano recall their 11-speed cranks. What's really going on? Shouting up, up, up in a race and other race etiquette no-nos. The ballooning cost of amateur time trialing, and we've all done one, that post-race Instagram post. How to do it right. And before we get into it, just a quick note, there's some small audio issues in today's episode. Please stick with us. We'll make sure they are not in the next one. All right, let's get into it. All right, 11 years after the launch of the product, Shimano recalling some cranks, but we need to probably start with a disclaimer here. This is the standard Nero Show disclaimer. You did not come here for an engineering breakdown of why the Shimano cranks have failed, nor I think if you come here for a really good detailed sort of thing of what you should be doing if you have this issue. There are great videos out there. This is not that one.
We save our public service announcements for plugs,
yes,
and not cranks.
Exactly. The first point to this is, well, not why now, but or maybe why now. Like, have you got a theory on this?
I don't have a theory. I don't know. It's just, because I mean, it's been going on for ages, hasn't it? We've seen them falling apart. It's just, you kind of thought that it was never going to happen because it had been this long, and everyone with Shimano cranks pretty much knows about the issue. And you thought, okay, we're just never going to get fixed. And it's just one of those misworking parts that just sits like that.
I can't get over, like the scale of this doesn't compute in my brain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so I know so many people who have these products. And I obviously that number just expands infinity from here. And so I just don't know how that works in practice. Like, is every single person now taking these back to, what a ball ache, like taking these back to bike. Every bike shop must be now like, oh, great. So we basically have to hire a person to be the Shimano recall crank checker every time. And then it goes back to Shimano and then, is it down the limit? I don't know. Like the scale of this just doesn't compute.
No. And then what about the stock on the cranks? Because they don't make those cranks anymore, so they're replacing them with the 12-speed ones. How are they making this many excess cranks? Or maybe they will be a bit dodgy with the checking. I don't know. I don't think you were not going to go to the effort of a recall and then be stingy with the replacements. You wouldn't think. But I mean, how many of them coming in are they going to replace? Is it going to be 50-50? Or is it 1% that have signs of delamination? That's a lot of 12-speed cranks that are just going to be going out.
Combine that with all the stages, power meters, the 4, like, so I don't know how those companies get compensated for all this. And again, like the scale of this blows my mind. Like, because I keep thinking about this, like if something like this happened with any other company, that one of their key components to their entire brand is recalled, surely that puts that company into some sort of financial issue, but clearly it's not. So I don't know how that works insurance-wise. Maybe they have this covered by some indemnity insurance, or so that it's not a big loss on the company. But then you've got the whole other thing. This is the sort of where I wanted to take this. How bad is this for the Shimano brand? Because Shimano sell themselves on we work. Our health. We're not some cool Californian componentry brand like SRAM. Our stuff just works. Mm-hmm. And this goes obviously against all that. And the way this plays out just leaves me kind of a bit disgusted by it, actually.
Okay. Well, can I say something really weird? I'm going to say it anyway, so I'll just go. It's kind of a boring component to have a recall on, don't you reckon? The crank. If it had been the derailleur, imagine if the batteries were blowing up. Well, there's no batteries in the derailleur, but it's something a bit more interesting, I feel, would carry. It's like the cranks delaminate. It's not sexy enough that I think it's going to carry through. So it's only really the nerds like us that kind of did it a bit. I hadn't bothered with it.
So the hierarchy of exciting componentry failures, it would probably be brakes.
Right.
I would imagine brakes would be your marquee. Like if you're going to have an exciting componentry, brakes would definitely be it. Then I think, see, shifting to me is so, I think shifting's further down the line, like a derailleur issue. I think cranks, no, I disagree. I think cranks is the second one because, you know, okay, let's say, for example, you are riding and it snaps. That's a pretty kind of confronting issue to be faced with down there.
Yeah, but it starts to peel off first. That's the thing. Imagine if it was the spider, where the spider just disintegrates as you're riding along. That'd be, or the chain rings just snap in half. It'd be a bit more concerning than your cranks slowly start to tear away and then it propagates and then it eventually fails.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Or your rear derailleur, yeah, just explodes into 20 pieces.
What about the way this plays out, like in terms of for the customer and all that kind of stuff? Surely you're going to lose some cachet with no.
Yeah, but it's 11 speed. Everyone that's cool's on 12 speed now. It's just the poor people that are still at 11 speed that it really impacts. We're in Sydney, but no one has 11 speed anymore anyway. It's like it's recalled from the old garage bike that you commute on. So maybe that's why they waited so long. Because then, well, let's bring out 12 speed. Let's get everyone that cares on 12 speed, and then just recall it for the Hambini and the Shane Miller viewers, and they can all get up in arms on forums and we'll just move on. It's kind of smart, actually.
Speaking of Hambini,
yeah.
So himself, but there were quite a few, but certainly himself and Alex did videos about this. I think Picture.
Yeah, sorry.
3 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years ago.
Yeah,
like this is kind of why that wing of YouTube exists, right? Like I don't feel we're a part of that sort of wing, but it's so good that exists. And I don't know if that played an impact in it, but like, yeah, I don't know. That stalking thing was so weird.
Yeah.
I just sort of watched that and like, what's the point of this? Apart from maybe this is, like you said, to discredit his professional life, and therefore that would rub off on what he was saying on his channel, and therefore you wouldn't believe what he said because, oh, look, he's not actually like, yeah, I just thought that was such a roundabout way to push back.
Just why don't you just make a reaction video to whatever he said that you've disagreed with?
Yeah.
It's like he could work at Subway for all I care. If the video is good, the video is good. I don't care if it works a oil refinery. Like what do I care? I'm watching YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just a weird thing to do.
Sort of an example of someone who really doesn't get like the platform or anything about that, trying to get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and the part of it was he doesn't pay taxes or he's doing something with his tax. Like, no one cares. Why did you think this was going to matter? It's so strange.
I don't know if you put this in before or after this recall, but I noticed you wrote in the show notes, I want my next bike will have SRAM, not Shimano.
Yeah, this was before the recall.
So this wasn't a reaction to this.
No. This was something This is vibe. This is stuff. This is another vibe call, and I've been internally searching to find out why. But I'm picturing myself. It's December. I'm trying to get a bike organized for 2024. I want to be able to do something different. I walk into the bike shop. I think I'm getting a SRAM bike.
I think you are too.
And I don't know why. Why has it? Maybe just because I think it looks cooler, which I have said before.
I also think it's just a bit of an existential thing, but I think the next bike that you are going to buy is going to be different anyway. It's going to be a big change, I have a feeling. And you're like, well, you know what? I'm going all in. I'm going all in on the change. I'm just going to fully embrace the Kool-Aid.
You know, the only thing about SRAM that would hold me back is that gearing is not very good for racing. The biggest chain ring, I think, is like a 50. Okay, but you got the 10, but I don't want to ride in the 50 and be down the back of the cassette. So the gearing is the only thing. I don't know, actually, I haven't looked this up, but the pros on SRAM have the 53 rings. Did you buy them? Did you buy like a TT ring or? Probably not. Yeah. So that's the only thing. But I don't know, SRAM. I just something about it. It's just Shimano's. I'm looking at this bike here. It's got Shimano Dura-Ace 12 speed. It's just oh, this is black and
I see. I was actually,
it's just not hot. Don't you reckon? Like,
but it's so, and I know this goes against what I was sort of saying a little bit when we were talking about the recall, but like it just really works all the time. And I know that it's boring and blah and all that kind of stuff, but
are you thinking of 11-speed SRAM ETAP where the rear derailleurs would just stop working and you'd have to warranty them? Or what's this Shimano just works thing? In what way? What doesn't work on SRAM?
yeah, it's a fair point. That's a fair point. I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of legacy thinking, from my perspective. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe it's a subconscious Jumbo Visma thing playing at mine because I actually don't know why. I just want SRAM group set.
All right. Well, you mentioned them, the current name of the current team.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
can we maneuver into that conversation?
Yeah, you can enlighten me because I'm a bit out of the loop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this sort of blew up on the last couple of days. The Jumbo Visma QUICKSTEP proposed merger. Again, you didn't come here for your detailed analysis of it, but I did find, the first thing is I find the reaction kind of funny, which is, have a guess. Have a guess what the reaction on Twitter and other social media platforms are.
Okay, the reaction. Now, they're always going to feel sorry for people, and someone's been hard done by, so it's going to be a lot of what happens to the excess riders. It's probably what happened. Jumbo Visma are too good, so what happens to the QUICKSTEP riders? Anything else?
You've kind of got the narrative.
Is that sort of it?
It's pretty much the narrative.
Yeah.
It's the sort of, the rich are getting richer. This is going to be just one team to dominate it all. So there was a whole thing about how the 3.5 liter thing would work with Roglic, Vingegaard, Repco, and our man Sepp Kuss.
And a half.
Well, he's the half.
It's GC Kuss.
Sorry,
that's a full. He's a full. It's GC lad.
Fledged. And how that would work, it'll be bad. He doesn't like him. He doesn't like him. That kind of stuff. People. Okay, this is my sort of thing with professional cycling, and the whole framework of professional cycling is it is a basket case. It's a basket case in terms of the way it's operated, the financing of it, even the way the teams operate. And this is just what happens.
But this can't be for next year, can it? It's October.
All that.
What?
So there's a whole other chat about this is not feasible. This could feasibly not happen in time for next year. I mean, look at the thing that interests me is the equipment side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Specialized and Cervelo, what goes on there? Is there a, I don't know, do we ride S5s on flat days and SL8s on hilly days?
Well, I Specialized, I'm going to let Remco ride on a Cervelo.
No.
What?
100%.
No chance.
Well, I suppose the way that, so the other chat there is obviously Remco leaves, and because his contract would be sort of null or something null and void throughout this, and he'd be able to move on, and there'd be that kind of thing to it. So I don't know. Look, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Potentially this doesn't happen and it's sort of turned around, but there is a lot of chat about it. And okay, what do you think? If just from a purely competitive perspective on racing in 2024, do you care?
No, it's Setup QUICKSTEP have been kind of slopped this year, so I don't really. They're kind of out of it. They got Casper Asgreen. They got Remco, who's a super talent. But I don't really care. I don't know. They're kind of been irrelevant for me this year. And even last year a little bit too. So yeah, I don't mind. I'm just thinking, does this open up a World Tour spot? So who's the new team on the block?
Yes. So
Tatema. Let's go.
Yes.
DDT. Stepping up.
Let's get Unibet on board.
Yeah.
So there'll be those guys, or the Tudor. I think the Tudor Pro Cycling line. They were kind of certainly chasing because I think they were going to be the MC's team. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just find it funny that this is what maybe it's just because I'm not right in the scene, but that this is what people get really uppity about when it comes to pro cycling. They get really emotional about it.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't get that concerned about this or worried, and I can't join the thousands of people replying to the comment that launched this thing. It's just not something that, and I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm just super cynical about the sport from like the framework perspective or what it is, but like it's just a meh to me. Like next year there'll be all these teams, they'll all be in relatively different kits and jerseys, and I will sit down and go, oh, that's a nice jersey, that's a nice kit, that's an interesting rider, and it'll just be like flow on, you know. I don't get caught up in the memories of it all, maybe.
Yeah, it's not like soccer where you pick your team and you are for that team and you will take that jersey to your grave.
See, that's an analogy. Like a lot of people in comments threads were like, oh, imagine if Manchester United and Man City merged and it was like this one super team. It's like, that's not what it's like.
No.
Because you don't have, this is my reading of it. You shouldn't grow up a Jumbo Visma fan and you were first put the jersey on when you're in the crib and your dad put it, like it's totally different, you know? So I don't know. It's just, I just can't get excited about it. But I can get a little bit excited about another rumor. So Luke Platt is leaving Ineos.
What?
Yes, sounds like someone's listening to this podcast. So an elite Australian track rider is leaving Ineos and potentially headed to Jayco. What's Ineos going to say in 2024?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, it's looking good for me. My bike call from a few weeks ago is it's going well. But just taking that aside, Ineos to Jayco. I mean, Platt will kind of make it work because he's such a special athlete, but just as a whole, yeah.
We'll see. I've got a feeling there's a bit of change. Well, you've called it. So there's change afoot over there by the sounds of it. All right, guys, let us know down below. Do these mergers matter? Are you caring? Are you emotional? Let us know.
So you race last weekend. You were out doing Masters Nationals and some racing. Can we pick through some really annoying etiquette things that happen when you're racing?
I think we can go broader than that. I don't talk about all kinds of things.
Let's just talk. Is this another segment of the Nero Show list of stuff to do with bikes? First thing is when I attack and some muppet starts shouting up, 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 up to get the response of the group to my attack. I hate that. Is that kosher or is that's not on?
I have been the upper and I have been upped.
I can't believe you're an upper.
I did it Darren's weekend. Spite, actually.
It's so...
It is... I feel dirty after
good.
doing
I'm
it.
glad you did it.
I feel like it doesn't sit well with me. I admit that.
Yeah.
But my God, it is really, really useful. It really is. And it's a sad truth, especially if, it's a really good attack and you're boxed in on the left. You can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And it's such a cheap. It's like it really. The person that does that, I can't believe this is you, Chris. The person does the up attack. Okay, here's why it's annoying. Firstly, they're sitting at the back of the group because they can see everything that's happening. So when you're going for an attack, you're doing a bit of a sneaky coming from the back. So they're a loser sitting at the back, not actively in the group. And they don't have the balls to actually respond to the attack and go with you. But they're a coward because they're not following the attack. And they're too nervous to just let it play out and let the other riders do their thing. So they're not only cowardly, they're also extremely nervous. Mm-hmm. So their response is, well, I'm just going to shout at the top of my lungs to try and get someone else to respond and close down this great, well-timed attack of this fair, competitive rider. And I'm just going to sit here at the back and just shout at the top of my lungs and get everyone else to do the work for me. I don't disagree. I have used it in a panic situation. I find myself, I'm angry at myself for where I'm positioned in the race and the attack is occurring. That said, I mean, so I did it to you on Sunday, and I had it said to me. Sorry, I had it said about me.
Okay. Yeah.
On the Saturday, and I was on the Saturday. I remember after one of them turning around and the guy who, anyway.
There's not many things I'd go back and give someone a spray anywhere, right? That's one of them. Just you get caught, you just go,
yeah.
And then it's most annoying because if they're seeing you attack, just go with it. Why don't you just here's the thing, don't do the up call. Just how about you race your bike and follow the person that's attacking? And you get off the front and maybe you can hit the wind to pull a turn. Who knows? You might stay away. A couple might join you. You might form a break. Sitting back, shouting up. It's just, it should be banned. It should be in the rules, UCI, ban it. It's because it's totally just against all kinds of sportsmanship.
Do you talk much during a race? You're
No.
quite quiet. Yeah. See, I think I'm a talker. I'm a talker. Yeah.
What do you?
So I think a lot of that comes back. So I used to play sort of scrum half and rugby, and that's a very talkative position. You tend to be the link between the forwards and the back, so you are shouting a lot of, informing the referee of what the decision should be and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just used to talking during sport, and I haven't, and I think it does me a real disservice because I don't know if you find this, but the person who's kind of the talky, sooky guy in the race just ends up getting like a big red flag put on them, and it might annoy enough other people that they're like, oh, I'm not going to let him get away because he's a little brat. So I reckon it does work against me. And so I do think that's where the up has come from on my own personal experience.
The other racing thing that popped up is there's a couple of Sydney time trials that popped up recently, and I saw a photo pop up from one of them of one of the riders. I'm actually not going to use the photo because it's a younger rider. It's not about them. But this rider had a lot of gear, which I want to talk through, which is totally fine. Parents probably paid for it. Do your thing. But this is just one of the reasons personally why I stopped doing time trials is because the money you got to sink in to keep up is insane. So I'm going to go through what this rider was running. They're on a Cervelo P5. There's about 17.5 Aussie because it was the Durace model. Rode a power meter, aero coach extensions, which are about $1,300. A Princeton Carbon Works disc, which is $5,000. Princeton Carbon Works front wheel, which is about $2,300. Casque helmet, about $500. No pins, skin suit, Nova shoes. So I added it up. It was about 30,000 Australian in equipment just in this one photo. I'm looking at that going, why would I get back into time trialing? Because people ask, are you going to the Westhead time trial? Oh, you'd be a good time trialist. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't be a good time trialist because I'd be on, a Focus. My old time trial was a Focus, Zalco Chrono, and I can do little bits and try and get it faster. But when you're going up against stuff like this, you can't compete. It's totally out of your hands.
I mean, I get the same sort of thing asked, especially with the Masters stuff, because that's a huge. In fact, there were more people who started the Masters time trial in my division than did the road race or the crit. So it becomes certainly a thing. But I kind of look at it the same as you, and some of the pictures coming out of it. It's not so much. I mean, you could spend some years building up your setup. I get that. And there is, I suppose, also the quantifiableness of preparing for it. But the bit that really I can't get around is, and I saw a lot of this, that ultimately you can buy all the gear, you can get the power, but if you haven't really spent proper time optimizing the position, you are losing buckets, especially at an elite level. Like I mean, I would only be doing it to try and win a national championship. I'm not doing it to win a a club time trial, which I know a lot of people in the UK do. Good on you. But I only would get the opportunity to race time trial at a national championships. And so there is no point me doing that without basically going into wind tunnels and spending time. And a great example of that. Now, should I bring up poor old Dan? Should I bring up poor old Dan? Because his position looks really good.
Yeah.
And he was doing good watts, according to Dan.
Okay. All right. This is good chat.
Good chat. You like this?
This is awesome. Yeah.
And he's whinging that he was at the first time split already 30 seconds slower than his rival.
Yeah. Okay.
Who was on a time we were doing similar power.
This is toxic side drive. I deal with this client. I deal with this quite a lot. Yeah. Okay. But keep going.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, he was sending me the picture of him riding and his rival riding and going, how am I already 30 seconds behind this guy? And he sent me the right freaking files. He was like 380 watts for the two of them.
Yeah.
For like 7.5 minutes or whatever it was. And he was already 30 seconds back. He's like, how is this happening? I'm like, Dad, I have no fucking idea.
Yep.
I had no idea. You know what you need? A wind tunnel or some way of...
When he's Dan does aero. It's got it. I thought Dan did some aero testing. His setup actually looks quite good. It looks styled.
It looks really good.
It does look. I saw the photo. It looks fast.
Absolutely. And that's...
You can't see aero.
Can't see aero.
So the only thing I will say is you don't need a wind tunnel.
Okay.
So you can do... I actually think in terms of the speed, you can do your ghetto aero testing if you're on a velodrome or you're out and back testing. There's things you can do to try and optimize your position without going to a wind tunnel. I think that's actually more achievable than me coming up with 30 grand to dial my setup up. I can go and do my aero testing if I wanted. It's not difficult. It's time consuming. It's slightly inaccurate, but it's going to get you closer.
But isn't the whole thing about the aero testing? It's not just necessarily the position or that kind of thing. You've got to test all the different helmets. Then you've got to test all the different positions. You've got to test all the different base bars. Potentially testing all the different wheels, all the different frames. So, I mean...
Yeah, but that's part of the effort. But it's possible. It's possible without spending money. It just takes a lot of time.
Get all the things to then be testing them versus the other thing.
Yeah, unless they borrow and steal.
Right. Okay.
But I feel like if I was committed to time trialing and I wanted to go into that space again, I could do the aero. That wouldn't be a problem. I'd figure it out. I'd get it done. But I don't want to spend 30 grand to get the top of the line stuff. Whether or not that's faster, again, you'd have to test it and do all that stuff. But you're not in a time trial. You're not going as fast on a 10 grand setup as you are on a 30 grand setup. There's just things that cost money, like the extensions cost money and the wheels cost money. A modern frame, not some 10-year-old. Like I can't ride. Actually, that's not even true because the Giant Trinity is still pretty good. But anyways, out of the details, basically the money does gain you speed up to a point, and then you can optimize from there. The optimizing isn't that expensive; it just takes a heap of time. So I don't know, but yeah, with Dan there, if you spend more, but some people are just maybe he has wide shoulders. He's not very aero.
Yeah,
I mean, this is like and also he's a sprinter. He has when he trains his sprint, he's cracking 1,1700 watts. He's a sprinter. He's a track rider. So he's pushing a boulder uphill, in my opinion, in the first place. So
a big wide folder. Yeah. Do you have many young athletes who are prioritizing time trial, or do you steer them away?
Well, from one year, a lot of under 23 riders do, because it's one of the best ways to get noticed. Is you go and do that under 19 or under 23 time trial champs. But even then, I mean, if you I don't know if you followed the under 23 time trial champs for the last few years, but especially those Melbourne guys, they're on 25k plus setups with track testing.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a very small group of people that are going to be able to compete in that space, even if you are fit. So,
when's the last time you went to a bike expo or some sort of festival type thing?
At the Husky Triathlon 2 years ago, I walked around the expo there. That was probably it.
So you're pretty experienced at these things.
Oh, well, there was also the expo at Wollongong last weekend. A couple of there was like 3 stalls. That counts.
So I don't know. I find these things interesting because there's obviously the biggest one really in Australia happens at the Tour Down Under, right? And there's a.
I've never been to
Never
the
been
expo
to
back.
it.
No.
So again, brands all pay to have their sort of space up, and they go there and they put all their new wares out, and we'll walk around in the little circle and try on the helmet and talk to the person and all this kind of stuff. And to me, as a punter going to them, I've always come away from them a little underwhelmed. Like, I do get a little excited because there's not many opportunities as cyclists to sort of go and see all our other cycling stuff in the one place. So you go and you're like, oh, what am I going to see? And after 15, 20 minutes, I'm like, yeah. Because, look, no offense to the people that are there, but it tends to be born sales staff or some, sales junior who's on a minimum salary to just sort of spin their wheels while all this. So they're not really into it. And the war stock that there may not be the greatest thing. Have you, does it ever move the needle for you? Because this is a thing, right, where, again, marketing budgets of brands and stuff get spent, and this is where they get spent. Yeah. And they get spent, these things aren't cheap. So I remember the Tour Down Under thing, it was at least 20 grand to be in that space.
What?
Yeah. Yep. Now that was for a week, and you were in there, and you're in a good sort of place. So there's a good chunk of change to go in there. Is this?
All right, it depends what the product is. So there are some things, I'm thinking wheels, I'm thinking even sunglasses, where you see them in person and they're so much more impressive than anything you could do online. And I think it would make a massive difference. Like nutrition stands, it's a gel, not that much. But, you go to a Princeton Carbon Works stand and look at their disc wheel. I think there's value there, but they're going to get heaps of foot traffic. I mean, some of them are just, they're kind of deserted. It doesn't really.
I don't know. The one for me that potentially only could do something is, especially when you're at an event where there is a race or some riots happening, is that you do, because we talked about this a while ago, but an opportunity to try a bike. To actually, so something like Tour Down Under, good example. You go in, you're able to ride the bike for a couple of hours, which will give you an opportunity to go and do Northern Summit or something on the Madone. Probably what Lep not going to rent out. Maybe they would rent out at Madone, I don't know, and sign your life away before you go. And I do think that is pretty cool, because even if one of the guys in your group went and did it, for the rest of the week, everyone would be sort of like, oh, so how'd that Madone go? At least there's a bit of chat there. I don't know. I feel like you kind of got to make that investment. Just putting the bike on the stand and having the salesperson out in front of us, man, I'm not sure that's quite worth the coin, especially if you're already spending 20 grand on this thing. Why not bring some floor stock in and go that route?
There's just something about a semi-busy expo stand that is just so old school and just easy. It's just, how are we going to advertise this X product? Oh, let's just book a stand at Tour Down Under and we'll print some banners and that's it. And I'd love to, I don't know if it works or not. You'd have to think that a lot of the time it doesn't do much, but it's just so easy to do. It's so uninventive. Not because, we're obviously making YouTube videos. I don't want this to sound like some, advertising thing, but it is kind of slop. It's just a done thing, totally uninventive.
Yeah. So where does it compare against getting a full page spread in a bicycle magazine? Because that to me is just as old school, boring slop. Like, no offense.
It's fun.
I'm sorry. But it is. Like, come on, they were probably doing that 40 years ago.
To me, it's in the same. Yeah, that's the same thing. It's like, you're someone that doesn't know how to do marketing and you're a distributor for a product. What do you do? Oh, okay, well, we can do a magazine ad, or we can go to an expo and showcase the products on the thing. at least you're putting some effort in if you're at the expo. At least you have to be there and, do something. A magazine ad. And at least you know the type of people that are going to be at the expo. Who's reading a magazine ad? Oh, yeah.
That's a question I don't know the answer to. I would love to know what the kind of readership of bicycle magazines I have. You could tell me they sell 5,000. You could tell me they sell 500,000. I have no idea. No idea. That kind of interests me. If anyone does know and has an accurate data on it, I would be interested to know that, just from a purely sort of spectatory perspective.
As someone who consumes cycling content that's not physical, so I'm not reading magazines, I'm going to say I don't feel like I see advertising that often. Maybe it's because it's not catching my attention. I'm just scrolling past it. But it's not too in your face. But when you read a cycling magazine, half the thing is just ads everywhere. And that was getting paid for. And it's interesting that brands will still pay for a magazine ad. But I feel like online, I don't see that many ads.
I see what you're saying.
Maybe it's because I use an ad blocker. So a lot of the sites where I'd usually be seeing ads, I don't see them. But it's weird. You pick up this old magazine that I personally think no one reads. And it's full of ads. I'm like, why are these brands paying for ads in this dinosaur book? And then you go online where most people are and I don't see ads.
No, I see a lot of online ads. Yeah, maybe I'm not using the right internet.
So if I open a bike magazine, right, and I'll see an ad for a Trek Bernard, when's the last time you saw a specific ad for a bike?
When I log on to Velo Outside Magazine channel, down the side, see it.
Oh, you don't have ad blocker. Okay.
How do we introduce a segment where we're about to diss people for doing? That's I have no idea, Jesse. I have no idea. We just go straight into it. I think. Can we discuss the phenomenon?
Yep.
That is the Instagram post-race or event recap post.
The debrief.
The debrief post.
Yes.
Now, the debrief post. Let me give you some rules, I think, for the debrief post. Now, it will include obviously some images from the event, but there's some key elements to this. Now, normally you don't win in the debrief post because that goes against. There's a long caption that you can definitely do when you win, no two ways. But the debrief post goes deeper than that. It might talk about your preparation, the challenges that you overcame, and the images will include obviously emotive moments of the race. But there's other key elements to it. It's got to include you and one of your key rivals in the races. So normally the way this works is it's someone who's probably better than you. Or at least, for example, if you were in a crit or some sort of road race and there was a pro there, okay, you would ensure that in that photo was said pro in there, okay?
Yep.
Then there's the caption. The caption, you can take this all kinds of places.
Yep.
But we've got to thank a lot of people.
Yes.
Family, friends, commissioners, volunteers. Normally get a mention here in the post.
Yep.
Are there anyone's now? I will definitely point out we have been horrendous. Well, at least I have. I have certainly done plenty of debrief posts.
I don't know a road racing cyclist that hasn't done the post-race debrief post thanking everyone. There's a tone to it though, because you can't come off too, well, if you won, maybe you could, but there's got to be a bit of a self-deprecating nature to it.
Have you got one of mine there?
I've got one of yours here, Chris. So let's go through it. So this is a classic because it starts off with we want some numbers. We want some context here. So we've got distance, 5 stages, 800 kilometers, 24 hours of racing in 38 degrees. So we are in the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen. It's the biggest physical challenge of your old body. So you got around and finished 18th, but it pales into insignificance with what we achieved as a team.
Did I use old body in there?
Yeah.
See that little bit of self-deprecation?
Yes.
Beautiful. There's a little tip there.
It just kisses it. Yep. On planet Earth.
Just brings it down.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But that's the first one. So we got some numbers, we got some results, but you haven't thanked anyone. So if we carry on, before we sign off from the Philippines, he's going to thank you got to thank Luke and your wife and your mechanic and your teammates. Everything's going. Yeah, that's it. And so it's a huge undertaking. You won a lot, and you're going to be back.
And did we learn anything?
No learnings actually in this one. This is maybe your learnings. You come back in the next place
because that's a classic one of mine. Throwing in learnings. Yeah, because that's the other key part to the debrief post. Because you didn't get the results, or that tends to be the reason for the debrief post. It's all part of the process.
Yes.
And so the debrief post, what it does is it reassures the followers that we're still on target for the goal. And we don't mention what that goal is. That's off into the future. In fact, may never get to the goal. Yep. But you just make sure there's learnings and you move forward.
I gotta say, it's a very cathartic process writing the debrief post, because this isn't just something you scribble together in 5 minutes. There could be hours adjusting, readjusting, inserting sentences. It's a whole procedure to get the debrief post correct. So it's an enjoyable part of the event, I think.
The other way to go with the debrief post is you go very not negative, but you go, because normally with the social media stuff, it's all positive, right?
Yeah.
Other route is to go really disappointing.
Subversion.
Real disappointing result. Just didn't come together for me. It's been a long process, but I'm disillusioned. And you play up that side of things, because that can really. I think this is probably more my route in the past, is just that don't actually give the details. I don't want to know what temperature it was. It's just simple, more introspective, and maybe even sort of a quote or a 1 or 2 liner just to reflect your feelings at a high level without going into detail. And just, if you don't want to go, if it's too raw to go into detail, that can definitely work. Yeah. And finally, another one that I've used definitely in the past is, so let's share I've been complete fodder in a race. I have really added nothing to the race. What you do is you thank the winner.
Hats off
to Tadej Pogacar in today's Tour de France.
Yeah.
Because, he rode really well. Next year, no, actually, don't refer to that. I mean, you didn't finish, and you're completely irrelevant. But hats off to the winner. Really deserved it today. Yeah. Really deserved.
Yeah, best on ground.
Yeah. And then you tag the winner, who doesn't even know who the fuck you are, in the actual race. Yeah. Another classic.
The only thing is, I'll quite often get mentioned in the race debrief post as a coach. Quite often, that's one of the people you would thank along with your friends and family. So,
wait, do you chime in? Do you chime in at this point?
I tend not to too much, just because I don't know if necessarily people want me. Usually, if they tag Nero coaches, I'm not going to hop in and steal the thunder of it's their moment, not me to come in and just. Oh, it's been amazing. I probably shouldn't.
No, carry on.
Yeah.
No, it's right.
I feel bad because it is funny, like the debrief, but when you're doing it, when it's your post, it is like, it's so important. You can't just do an event and just carry on. You need to do the post. So, and I do them, and I've done them, and I'm gonna do them. But it's still funny. But it's a very, as a coach, it's an important part mentally because who else are you going to tell? Yeah. Well, you're telling your wife or your husband, and they're just going, shut up. Like, they don't care anymore. So it just feels good to get it off your chest.
But the problem comes, and this is why we're talking about it now. as we've both done, and they're hilarious. But after an event, so as not in Australia, the Masters Nationals was last weekend. So what happens after that? Out come the posts, and the problem is now all our feeds get sort of filled up with the post event debrief post.
Yes,
and when you just see them all together, you just start laughing because you've all been there.
Yeah,
and I am still there. But you're right. It is. I think you said this in the beginning. It is cathartic. You do get something out of it. Like, I don't know if anyone actually reads the comments.
well, they're quite often too long.
Yeah.
They're too long. I think only the people that are tagged in them would be reading that far. But
I would argue that the one you pulled out of mine, here, this one in the Philippines, that's not long enough. A proper event race post, 3 paragraphs.
yeah,
I want the full backstory. The trials, the tribulations. That's not.
there's no art.
I might edit.
You're just straight in with the detail.
I might get in and edit.
Yeah, I think go back
223 weeks later, I'm going in.
Yeah.
Might update.
change that.
Because now that we've learned something, I've learned never to go back. So quick update on Plug Awareness Week, which I think you would agree has just captured the imagination.
Has gone worldwide,
It's gone viral.
every corner.
100% viral, which is fantastic. I was very disappointed. GCN put a video up during the week, and it was something along the lines of, what should you carry in your saddlebag? Not one mention of a plug.
No.
Poor, very poor. They still had puncture repair kits, on the side of the road where you're going to be, putting your little patch over your inner tube and doing all this sort of stuff.
Kids won't remember what that is.
Not remember
What is that? What are you talking about?
Patch. Very, very disappointing. But I was going to suggest that we continue the awareness program well into next week. And if you are on the side of the road plugging, please do send us tag the Nero Show on Instagram, and we will ensure a retweet, repost immediately.
What's that called?
I don't know.
Is it still called a tweet, or is it called an X?
That's a good point. All right, before we go, Jesse, I just want to quickly say big thank you to our audience who are... So the biggest thing people ask are what they can do to support the show. Liking these videos is bloody important. And I've got to say our audience are friggin' good at that. Like, liking and commenting triggers the algorithm, is really good. The other thing is obviously share it on with your mates. The thing we do drop the ball on is the podcast stuff, because we don't really know how it works. People seem to suggest that leaving reviews is a thing, so that definitely does help us out. But honestly, nothing really beats the likes. That's fantastic. It's the best thing for everyone to do. Mm-hmm. With that said, I think we'll wrap it up. Jesse, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next week.
See you then.